Hey guys, welcome back to the Homespun Hive. I'm Shelby and today we're in the garden and I wanted to share with you guys 4 heat-loving summer plants that you can add to your garden. If your garden's anything like mine, you are probably at the end of spring going to have some things that fade out. Here in Zone 9B we have a really warm summer, so things like peas and lettuce just are not going to make it after once June starts. So we've pulled our carrots, we've pulled our Swiss chard, my lettuce is going, I've pulled our peas, our beets, and now I have these open areas in the garden. So I wanted to do some research and figure out what we could be planting to fill those spots in, but it needs to be something that would withstand heat. So I'm going to talk about what I found today. But before I get to those, I just want to mention that some other really good plants that you can plant in the summer in your garden if you have warm climate is zucchini, which I have here, and then peppers. But as you can see, these are already started. So yeah, zucchini and peppers behind me, and then of course tomatoes. So those are really good summer crops as well. Alright, so one of the first things that I looked for when I wanted to plant something to take up some space in our summer garden was a heat-tolerant green option. So in the warmer months, your lettuce is going to start to bolt, it's going to start to go to seed, and in that it's going to start to taste bitter. It's not going to be that good. What I ended up finding was New Zealand spinach, which if I remember correctly is actually in the succulent family or close to the succulent family, but once you grow it, it tastes similar to spinach, or you can use it in similar ways that you can do spinach. You know, you can add it to your smoothies or saute it with eggs or do like butter and garlic and stuff like that. So that was a good option for me because I love my greens. So when you plant your New Zealand spinach, what you want to do is take your seeds and soak them overnight for the best results, for best germination. And then you're going to go ahead and plant them into like a mound of dirt, kind of similar. If you've seen our rows, we do our rows like an above ground mound. The directions say to plant in a mound similar to what you would zucchini or squash and stuff like that. So you plant them in a mound, and they love full sun. They're very heat tolerant. They're not frost hardy at all. So it's definitely something you want to plant for the warmer climates, your warmer months. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to start that off, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. New Zealand spinach, heat tolerant, not frost hardy. Soak your seeds overnight for best results. Next on my list of heat-loving things to plant in your garden this summer is sweet potatoes. I love potatoes, and we definitely buy a lot more white and yellow potatoes, but those are going to be a more cold season potato. So if you want to grow something different in your garden this year, try sweet potatoes. They're good for the warmer, hotter summer months, and they're really, people just say that they're kind of something that you like plant it and forget about it, and you just need water and heat for the best results. So I'm right here because this is our mound, this is our row. We have our soaker hoses in this row, and this is where I'm going to plant our sweet potatoes. So what you're going to do if you want to plant sweet potatoes is you can order the slips from a store or like your garden center or something like that, and it's just the potato sprouted already. That's called a slip. But you can also go ahead and purchase some organic sweet potatoes and cut them in half and suspend them in water with toothpicks, and then just change out the water every day, put them in a sunny spot, and eventually they'll start to grow. So that's what we're doing. Since we had access to that, I didn't really want to wait for shipping, or I don't know, we just had them, so why not make some more potatoes? Pretty much the consensus is when you're planting potatoes, a good method to do that is you have your row and you want to dig down about 12 inches. And you want to put your slips, once they're growing, you want to put them down into that row, and don't cover them up with that full 12 inches of dirt above them. You're going to cover them up a little bit so the sprout is sticking up, and then as it gets bigger, you're going to put more dirt over it, and it grows some more, and you're going to put more dirt over it, and it grows taller, and you're going to put more dirt over it. And if you look up a picture of sweet potatoes and what they look like when they're like freshly grabbed from the ground, it makes sense because they kind of grow in like a pile. It's like you have sweet potatoes underneath, and then you have more on top, and then you have more. So it makes sense when you see that for the best results you would plant them deep and then cover them up with a little bit of dirt, and then come back and do that some more as they grow. And just keep in mind that potatoes do have a tendency to spread out and take up a lot of room, so that's why I like this row for them, because we have a couple feet on each side. I'm just gonna have tomatoes here. I'm not sure what I'm gonna put on the other side, but we should have enough room for them. I haven't planted sweet potatoes before, but like I said, I was looking for some things that were a little different, not your average zucchini or peppers and tomatoes to just fill in the garden, because I definitely have enough of those. So sweet potatoes, you want to get your slips or grow your own slips, dig down 12 inches deep, put them in, cover them up with a little bit of dirt, and then as they grow, cover them up with more dirt, grows taller, and cover it up with more dirt. It's pretty simple, right? So another good heat tolerant option for something to fill in some space in your garden in the warmer months is beans. Now you have two options with beans. You can do pole beans or bush beans. Pole beans, you're gonna need something like a trellis here, which I'll link down below on how I make this trellis. It's super simple, it's budget friendly. I use it for our tomatoes, our cucumbers, I've used it for beans, peas. So pole beans you'll need a trellis for, and you probably need more space than this. You're not gonna get a whole lot that you can use if you're planning to can them. You probably need to cover a little more space than this, but they're good for heat tolerant and stuff like that. I like to use the red scarlet runner beans. They make a really pretty flour and they really love the heat. And your other option is bush beans. Bush beans will not need a trellis, but they're kind of more similar to like a determinate tomato, where it grows and it puts off all its tomatoes and that's pretty much it. Well, the pole beans the bush beans are going to be the same. They're going to grow closer to the ground and they're going to give you a lot of beans at one time. So if you wanted to do canning, or you have a really big family and you want to harvest a lot to use for a meal, bush beans are going to be your best option. I tend to do pole beans just because I like the flowers. I don't know, I just like them, they're prettier. Another thing is that they're pretty easygoing. I'm sorry, the chicken's flying around. Pole beans are pretty easygoing and in temperament. Give them some good sunlight and water, and they're pretty disease resistant. Just watch out for things like grasshoppers who like to munch on them a lot. We tend to have that problem. We get a lot of grasshoppers. So, I mean, you can get blight, but you can also look for varieties that are disease resistant and stuff like that. And last but not least in my list of heat tolerant veggies to plant in your garden this summer is okra. Okra, again, a lot of people say is one of those plants that you can plant in your garden and just kind of like set it and forget it. You don't need pruning, you don't need to check it for disease all the time. People just say that you generally need a good fertilizer, warm weather, and water, and they'll grow. Now, some people have a hard time with okra. They tend to harvest it and say that it's too tough to eat, or it just doesn't taste good. And the thing with that is that you need to harvest your okra when it's under 4 inches long. Like 3 to 4 inches is what seems to be the best spot. And if you let it get too big, it can be a little tough to eat. So keep that in mind if you're going to grow okra. If you want to save the seeds from your okra, you can let it get brown on the plant and then pick it off and then harvest the seeds from that and then store them in a cool, dry place until next season. Alright guys, well that about wraps it up for my 4 heat tolerant veggies to plant in your garden this summer. I hope that inspires you guys to try something new. All of the plants that I talked about besides beans are something that I haven't tried this year that I'm going to try. So I know I'm pretty excited to find something new to fill up my spring gaps in my garden. I'd love to update you guys if you're interested in that. I've thought about doing a garden tour, but as you can, I don't have a lot going on in my garden, but it is kind of fun to see what other people are growing and the progress over the season. So maybe I'll do something like that in the near future. So don't forget to hit subscribe and see what I've got coming next.